Next we have Dan Meyer, our Veteran Service Officer. We have a lot of veterans in this area, and I know Dan has been very helpful to many of them.
Thanks for having me tonight. It's always good to go ahead and get with the folks out here and to go ahead and talk about updates to the program and what we're doing. I've been here now 5 years, 5 months and 6 days. I'm not counting, but I've got a list that says how many days I worked there. Since we started, when I started, it was a one-person show. We increased the program to getting an assistant that works 30 hours a week. And as most of you know, you've heard it on the radio and newspaper articles that I put out in the 2 newspapers here in the county. The commissioners built a brand new office space. We're now in the courthouse on the bottom floor on the north end of the building. And we had Ron Quaddy that came down, who was a senior claims officer for the Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs, and said that it was by far the nicest office space he's seen in his travels about the state. So the commissioners have really put a lot of effort and funding into the program. The numbers I'm going to give you guys is not about look what Dan Meyer's done. I got my medals in the service. I was in 20 years. I retired as a Navy chief. So the medals have long since been put in a box and been put away. This is because when you have bosses that support you, when you have veterans and their families that support you, and you have the community that support you, it's pretty hard to fail. You really got to make an effort to fail at what I do when you have that kind of support. Leanne, my assistant, went back when I got invited by Rusty to speak, and this is what a community can do. 32.82% of all veterans that walk in my office were recommended by the community that were not veterans or spouses of veterans. That's 1 out of 3, just about. Were recommended, and I said, how did you find the office? Well, so-and-so told me. I'm thinking, well, they're not a veteran. They said to come down and see you. They heard me on the radio or seen me at an outreach event. So the community at large, why I'm saying this, is 33% almost of everybody that hits my office was recommended by somebody who's got no skin in the game. That's what a community can do. That's why we have the successes that we do. Last month, we had 169 people that walked in that office, either by appointments or walk-ins. We did 4 home outreach appointments, which brought it to a total of 173 that actually came in and walked in. We also had 66 incoming telephone calls in 1 month, and it just doesn't slow down. That's why I'm asking you to get with the commissioners and ask them for another person. No, I'm just kidding. That's all basically. This is what a community, when you get behind the Veterans Program, can actually do. When I started here, we were second from the bottom with the number of veterans that are enrolled in Big Stone County in the VA healthcare system, actually enrolled. The average per county is around 27.5%, 28%. That's the average of the 87 counties that are enrolled. When I started here, we were just over 29%. Because of the commissioners and the community at large, veterans and their family members, we are at 68% enrollment rate. We are tops in the state. That can't be done if you don't have a community behind you. It's just impossible to get that many folks that come in. Since I've started 5.5 years ago, just about, we've had 308 veterans that have walked in my office seeking disabilities from the service that have been granted. Some of those veterans have come in 2 years later, their condition gets worse. 496 disabilities. When you total all the veterans that have walked in my office, 419 claims that have been granted, veteran claims, for 687 disabilities. Come January of this year, I spoke with the commissioners, and basically anybody outside of Big Stone County, I just can't take them anymore. Up to that point, I helped 49 veterans from Lac-Qui-Parle County get service connection. disability benefits, 20 from Grant, South Dakota, and 42 from other counties or other states or other countries, including Germany, and a retiree that lives over in Melbourne, Australia. I just don't have the resources and the time to go ahead, and it's just not enough time to do them all. So I really need to start concentrating on veterans. There's 440 veterans that the VA says there's in Big Stone County. There isn't that many, but that's what they say. They basically look at the state and they go, this is how many veterans divided by 87 counties, percentage-wise, and that's how they kind of get their numbers. So how can you be so busy with only 440 and another 120 that aren't in the county? Because they all have spouses. When a veteran dies, in our county, we don't let the funeral homes do the arrangements, order the burial flags, the markers. Most counties do that. There's only 3 or 4 in the whole state. It's my responsibility to make sure that the deceased family gets the flag. If it needs to be folded and it's a cremation ceremony, I take the flag home and my wife and I fold it. She's good at that. She's folded better than I can. That's my responsibility to do that as a veteran service officer, not the funeral home's responsibility. That's just an ethical attitude I have. That's my job, and I need to do my job. The handouts that I gave you guys is the State Social Assistance Program. What that is basically is veterans or their spouses or family members if they're under the age of 18. This is a program that's been around for eons in the state and really hasn't been too pushed. When I just got back from spring conference, we ranked 19th out of the 87 counties with SSAP grants that were granted in 2014. It was a little over $39,000. Special needs grants is a once in a lifetime that is done basically on a income asset basis. That's not the sole limiting factor. There's been since I've started in 5.5 years, a bunch of surviving spouses have gotten shingles put on their homes. They've got washers and dryers, car repairs, new windows in their home. It's up to $5,000. We just had somebody here that had new windows put in their home. The bid that the Department of Veterans Affairs, Minnesota Department of Veterans Affairs accepted was $7,400. They said, we'll pay $5,000, you come up with the other $24,000. So that program's out there. Optical and dental, on the fact sheets you got, there is income and asset guidelines. It's $400 once a year for optical, and that usually doesn't cover an exam and glasses, but the veteran or the spouse picks up the other end of it, and then they can at least go back once a year and get an eye exam. That will more than cover the eye exam. The folks there that I go and send them to for optical and dental have worked with me, and they, in some cases, sit and say, hey, they'll be back every year. They wouldn't be coming back without this program. We'll get them the eyeglasses and the exam for $400. You just keep sending them here every year. That's good for business. It's good for the veterans. It's good for the spouses. It's good for the tax base. It's good for the community. Last year, we had 23 veterans that passed away in Big Stone County alone. We've lost 122 since I've started here in 5.5 years. The office contacts we had for fiscal year 2014 that actually walked through the door was 1,403. We had 90 home appointments for some of the older folks, and we had 1,728 incoming telephone calls for a total contact of 3,221. In 2011, the commissioners had talked to me, and I started taking those in Big Stone City, those that worked in the county, that were providing taxes and things like that. Since January 1st of 2011, just for time limitations, I never turn veterans away. I'll always give them an information packet, the forms to fill out. But there's been 203 veterans from outside Big Stone County that want to put in disability claims that I couldn't do. 203 as of January 1st. I want to help all the veterans, but when a veteran is told to come and see me and his veteran service officer is out golfing, and I'm sitting there on a Friday night at 8 o'clock, it doesn't make me feel really good about the situation. But I don't turn veterans away like that. I give them, said, this is what you need to file. Here's the information sheets. Here's the fact sheets. Go see your veteran service officer. He ain't going to help me. Then see your county commissioners. Well, they said, and I said, well, then write your senator. Okay? So we are quite busy there. The last thing I have, and I know it's quicker than I was last time, because it was 15 minutes, now I'm told to keep it a little bit shorter now. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I don't know if a lot of folks know this, but PTSD from veterans and depression, and these are ages from World War II veterans all the way to the young folks coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. VA studies show that last year 22 veterans each day committed suicide in the United States. That's 1 every 65 minutes took their life. That they know of. They think it's a lot higher than that. And why? Because those numbers only include those that committed suicide that were in the VA healthcare rolls. Well, if only 28% in Minnesota are enrolled, that's only 1 out of 4 veterans are basically got a role in the VA healthcare system. Plus, when you look at that, about the VA numbers, what about the veteran who intentionally crashed his car or motorcycle, dies of a drug overdose, and leaves no note? Those deaths are not counted as suicide. That's why the number is a lot more than 22 nationwide today. How about the homeless veteran that has no one to vouch for him that he or she's a veteran and is buried unknown? Or how about the families that don't want to divulge a suicide was due to PTSD because of the stigma that's associated with mental illness? Suicide with the veteran population has become an epidemic in the country. It knows no color, it knows no religion, it has any age demographics. We lost a veteran here that committed suicide by a gun last year in Big Stone County, or no, that was 85 years old. Korean War veteran, 85. If you know somebody that has PTSD, or you think that they might be having problems, please keep your eyes and your ears open. The community, it's a silent disease, but the community knows when somebody's not acting right. What normal is, I don't know. As I'm not normal, okay? You can ask my wife about that. I'm about as unnormal as you can get. But you know when people aren't acting right. If somebody comes up to you and they're a veteran and they sit there and say, you know what? That ain't even worth living anymore. I'll catch you later. That's a sign. I live with PTSD. I take my meds every day like I'm supposed to. I go to St. Cloud VA once a month like I'm supposed to, and I got a great support system. Most people, when they look at veterans, they say, how can you be disabled? They don't see the veterans when they're in their closet crying, hoping not to wake up the next morning. I had a veteran who was in my office last year that said, I hope I get Alzheimer's so I can forget. So if you know veterans, and I know where they're coming from, trust me, they need to get help. They really do. If you know that they're out there, please look for some signs. If somebody says to you they're thinking about killing or hurting themselves, looking for ways to kill themselves, talking about death or dying, have destructive behavior, drug abuse. They buy a bunch of weapons, and they're not a guy or gal that hunts, that doesn't do any target practicing, that you know that they're out there. You see a guy or gal that's drinking a lot and they've never done it before. Something's going on. Maybe it's not PTSD. Maybe it's a family issue. Please, a third of the veterans that walk in my office, and more than that for PTSD, once again, were recommended by the folks sitting in this room. And I know it works because I made 11 appointments last year, the very following day that I had this meeting last year. From people that said, so-and-so at that meeting said, I need to call you. 11. All 11 of those veterans that were service-connected through the VA by the time we got done with it. almost half, 5 were PTSD. So I know the people in this room took stuff with them and talked to people about it because that's how they got in there. So please, okay, help me, help them, get them in my office. Let's go ahead and get them the help that they've earned. They deserve our support. Thanks for having me again once again. It's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I hope I'm here for the next 20 years. Well, at least 10. So really, God bless you guys, and thanks for supporting the veteran office. It's because of you guys that make us look good with the Department of Veterans Affairs, Big Stone County. It's not me. It's because of the community. I fill out papers. Okay. Thanks, and God bless everybody, man.